Good evening and welcome to Halifax Central Library. My name is Elliot and I will be your library host for this program. Thank you so much for joining us here tonight for Activating Art in Mi'kmaq. We will begin this event by acknowledging that we are meeting on Aboriginal land that has been inhabited by Indigenous peoples from the beginning. We're grateful for the opportunity to meet here, and we thank all the generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years. Long before today, as we gather here, there have been Indigenous peoples who have been the stewards of this place. In particular, we acknowledge the Mi'kmaq and multidisciplinary peoples. We recognize and deeply appreciate their historic connection to this land. We also recognize the contributions that First Nations, Métis, Inuit, and other Indigenous peoples have made in shaping and strengthening this community in particular, and our province and country as a whole. This recognition of the contributions and historic importance of Indigenous peoples must also be clearly and overtly connected to our collective commitment to make the promise and the challenge of truth and reconciliation real in our communities, and in particular to bring justice for murdered and missing Indigenous women, girls, and Two-Spirit people across this country. I have a few housekeeping items before we begin the panel tonight. The exits from Paula Reagan Hall are at the back of the room, through that big hole in the wall. There are washrooms over on the right side of the floor, including an accessible gender-neutral washroom. You just look for the orange on the wall, and that'll steer you in the right direction. If you need to leave the program at any time, that is absolutely okay, but I do ask that you try to do so quietly so we don't throw the speakers off their rhythm. Snacks and drinks are welcome in the program, but do please try to throw your garbage out on your way out the door tonight. And we ask also that you turn off your phones or put them on silent so we don't interrupt our speakers. And finally, we do have an ASL interpreter here for the evening. So if you need ASL interpretation for this program, please let them know. I will now pass the mic to Melanie Nugent Noble, Executive Director of Nocturne.
Hello, everyone. Thank you. My name is Melanie Nugent Noble, and I am the Executive Director for Nocturne. I would like to, first of all, thank everyone for coming out to tonight's panel and welcome you to this year's festival. This is the 16th year of Nocturne. When Nocturne first started in 2008, there was approximately 4,000 people in attendance that year. And we will look forward to welcoming 60,000 plus people to experience the art and energy that the festival brings to the streets of Tsleil-Waututh and celebrate the visual art scene in Mi'kmaq. This year, in addition to tonight's panel, we have artist talks by 8 artists tomorrow, as well as our launch party at Propeller Brewing. Everyone is invited. On Saturday from 6 to midnight, we have 70 projects taking place for everyone to check out. And on Sunday, Corey Peters' Collective Grief and Collective Joy will be at Dartmouth Commons. My first experience with Nocturne was as an artist in 2021. I'm thrilled to be here now to helping artists to bring their projects to fruition with the rest of the Nocturne team, board of directors, our sponsors, funders, especially the Halifax Regional Municipality, for their support for this panel, and of course, the incredible volunteers. Thank you. Tonight's panel discussion, Activating Art in Mi'kmaq, is presented in partnership with Visual Arts Nova Scotia, Visual Arts News, the Native American Art Studies Association, and Nocturne. Moderating tonight's panel is Aidan Gillis. Aidan Gillis is a visual artist and curator based in Tsleil-Waututh, Halifax, Nova Scotia, on Mi'kmaq territory, with Mi'kmaq and French roots in western Nêhiýaw, Newfoundland. Gillis grew up primarily on Sţwxx territory in New Brunswick. Gillis is the Indigenous Arts Programmer at the Art Gallery of Nova Scotia, supporting both the arts education and curatorial departments. Gillis serves on the board of directors for the Mi'kmaq Native Friendship Centre and is an executive committee member for the Canadian Art Gallery Educators. In 2017, he completed a BFA with a minor in art history at NSCAD University. I would also like to introduce the incredible artists participating in tonight's panel. Carrie Allison is a nêhiýaw, Métis, and mixed European descent, multidisciplinary artist, visual artist, based in Tsleil-Waututh, Mi'kmaq, Halifax, Nova Scotia. She grew up on the unceded and unsurrendered lands of the Squamish, Stolo, Tsleil-Waututh, and Musqueam nations. Her maternal roots and relations are based in High Prairie, Alberta, Treaty 8. Melissa Peter Paul, on ílwətaʔ. Growing up, Melissa was immersed in cultural teaching and was surrounded by a family of basket makers. She began her artistic expression at a young age, making regalia and beadwork, and is skilled in both traditional and contemporary styles. Melissa's exposure to other Mi'kmaq art forms led her to quill work, a traditional skill in which the ancestors of her maternal grandfather excelled. Melissa was accepted into the apprenticeship with Mi'kmaq quill art in 2015. Jordan Hill is a Skszwx Nation multimedia artist currently residing in Halifax, Tsleil-Waututh. His work alludes to a growing problem with contemporary culture where the line between fact and fiction becomes blurred. How do we navigate a manipulated world where truth is incredibly difficult to locate? Thank you for your time, and please enjoy the panel and the festival.
All right. Thanks for joining us this evening, and thank you for welcoming me to moderate the panel. I know we've done a bit of shifting around. As you can see, some people up there are not down here with us right now. Yeah, really excited to hang out with everybody this evening. Yeah, so thanks for having us. And thank you, Melanie, for the introduction. So yeah, for this panel, we're going to be talking about, experiences as being artists making on Mi'kmaq. We're going to talk some Nocturne, and it's going to be great. You're going to hear a lot more from them than you are from me. So yeah, thank you for the introductions. So I think a great way to start maybe would be for us to have some time to introduce ourselves a little bit more, like who we are, where we're from, and some of our interests in the work we do. So if you want to take it away, Carrie?
It just works? Oh, yes, it does. I've never used one of these before, so... so my name is Carrie Allison, Payu. I am nêhiýaw, Métis, and mixed European descent, multidisciplinary visual artist and mother. This is my child. Dad is working, and he couldn't get it covered, so he will be here hopefully like this. But if he's not, I will be running after him or giving him snacks. So I've been a visitor here in Mi'kmaq since 2010. My nêhiýaw and Métis relatives and ancestors were predominantly situated west of Lesser Slave Lake in Alberta. My family names are Boudry, Paidu, Noskai, Sţwx, and Supreno. My work responds to my maternal, nêhiýaw, and Métis ancestors and relatives, as well as my lived experience and interests. While I call myself a multidisciplinary visual artist, I mainly work with beads. However, I often mix this old technology with newer technologies, such as animations, installation, sound, and video.
Okay, I have a deep voice, so let's see how far I wish I wrote something down. My name is Jordan. I'm from the West Coast, like Melanie had mentioned. I'm from a little community called Tskszwx Nation. It's probably one of the most Western communities in Canada. And I think we have a population no more than like 500 people. And so I make work prominently projection-based, new media-based, where I kind of share my lived experiences spatially, perceptually, about how I grew up in those communities and how it affected how I navigate the world, such as things like truth and transparency, and how hidden we really are as a community, and how we can kind of disappear in a world that's kind of moving so quickly. And I find parallels between our physical world and kind of this digital culture that we're very quickly adopting and kind of living by. And I think kind of my lived experiences on reservation and as a both Indigenous person and a white passing person, I kind of toe the line of being in these in-between spaces where the world kind of reveals itself to me in two ways, and I try my best to kind of engulf people in that world that I live in. So.
Hello. Xʷməthkվəy. My name is Melissa Peter Paul, and I'm from Eboguit First Nation. It's a small Mi'kmaq community located 20 minutes east of Charlottetown, Prince Edward Island. I've been born and raised on the island. I am a mother of 2 boys, and they are so smart. My oldest is 16 years old, and my youngest is 6 years old, so they're 10 years apart. But they are the best of friends, and I am so grateful that they get to grow up with all of this art and culture and traditions surrounding our home. And this is their way of life, and that's something I'm really, really, really proud of, because that's something I didn't get all the time. So I've been doing quill work since 2014, so 9 years now, and my teacher is sitting in the second row right there, grading me tonight. So I do quill work, and it is like a dream job. It is, I absolutely love what I do, and the connections that I'm making with my people, and the connections that I'm making with the land and the animals, and, you know, revitalizing that Mi'kmaq quill work here in Mi'kma'ki again. And I love that more Mi'kmaq people are starting to learn to do quill work, and they're showing me their work, and, you know, it's so exciting. So that's me. Thank you for coming tonight.
Awesome. Cool. But yeah, I guess I'll just take just a second just so you guys know a little bit more about who I am. So I'm Aiden. I'm Mi'kmaq and French from West Coast, Newfoundland. More specifically between Flat Bay and Port-au-Port, Newfoundland. Pretty cool spots, beautiful water. Halifax now for, 11 years now, I think? Something like that. I'm an artist. I do a lot of leather work, painting. I work at the Art Gallery in Nova Scotia. If you've ever been to visit Don Sigadigal Sibul Confluence, that was an exhibition that I co-curated and had a lot of fun doing that. Melissa, you ended off on a perfect topic for our next question. That would be, so whether you're on your own territory, everybody here, or are away from home, community, or territory, how does being on Mi'kma'ki affect your work or your practice? Oh, I asked all 3 of you.
Oh, he's asking all of us. Everything that I use in my art comes from the land. And in this territory, I've been taught and I've earned that knowledge how to harvest these materials. So I don't know if I would I would be harvesting anywhere else other than in my own territory. So and that's kind of all that I know is, you know, harvesting in Mi'kmaq and doing art in Mi'kmaq. But I want my art to show everywhere else. But I'll do it here. Yeah, so just harvesting, you know, berries with my grandmother or sweetgrass with them, and that's what I know in this territory. And I'm happy I get to continue on with that here and growing my family of harvesters. They're all harvesting with me, and we're connecting on like such a deep level. Yeah, I hope I answered that. I'm always good at rambling on.
I'll go. Yeah, I as somebody who doesn't make traditional Coast Salish art, it really is, like I mentioned in my intro, if you call it that. It's lived experience, and I made a lot of observations about what was happening in BC and my community, and whether that be through weird thin tree lines that act as facades blocking devastation that I thought might have been unique to where I grew up. I moved here and started to understand that the land is very much similar in a lot of those ways. And what surprised me was learning and meeting Indigenous folks out here. They were sharing in those experiences and those observations and those life experiences. And it was really reaffirming as an artist to have these intuitive observations or thoughts and move across the country and know that it still holds true, and I'm not just kind of making in a bubble. And it's really flattering. And then additionally, just on a social aspect, meeting other Indigenous artists, especially Mi'kmaq artists, it's like, you know, when you, Indigenous folks will get this, you meet people, you're like, you are from an entirely different culture, and then all of a sudden, you're 5 minutes into chatting with them, and it's like you've known them for years, your whole life, and it's like you just know how to exist with each other, and there's something really comforting in that, and it's like this odd amount of trust you can have knowing wherever you go, there's an Indigenous community available to you to kind of make you feel safe or make you feel seen or reaffirm the things that you're seeing, and you're like, you're seeing this too, right? And they're like, yeah, we are. And you kind of get to be stronger for that, those experiences.
Sorry, I'm multitasking and I am not good at it. Yeah, I think I've been here since 2010, so I really developed as an artist and continue developing as an artist here in Mi'kmaq, and I situate myself very much as a visitor. I like thinking critically about that, thinking about my position here as a visitor and what responsibilities that entails. And that comes through in a lot of the art that I make and how I move through or in this territory. I'm constantly inspired by Mi'kmaq, the landscape, the people, the relationships that I've had here. Yeah. Just watching monsters, so monsters gone. Yeah, so I think that Mi'kmaq is always inspiring me to create different work and think differently, and I owe a lot to this territory and the people that have mentored me through and shared with me.
All right, thanks for sharing that, everybody. So now that we learned a bit more about like who everybody is and some of your stories about making work on Mi'kmaq, I think we're all excited to hear a little bit more about maybe what Nocturne projects that you're all part of this year for the festival.
Jordan.
Sure. I
We
wish
made this
Amy was
together
here.
with 2 other people.
You just jump in if you feel like I'm messing it up. So, other Jordan, Carrie, Amy, and I decided to collaborate on a, I guess you could call it a video. It'll be at the Rogers Convention Center screens, so it'll be like dispersed throughout. But, sorry, Monsters Inc. is like right there. And like, I'm kind of invested. Yelling. We're making a video kind of addressing a lot of the natural disaster devastation that's happened here recently, such as the fires and the floods, but specifically the fires. And being from the other side of the country, fires is something I'm familiar with. And kind of this, we went and shot a bunch of footage of these charred forests where you can see already all of this beautiful green that's growing out from under it with this wonderful contrast. You'll see it if you go to the screens, but yeah, so we're addressing the devastation and ways in which there's this perpetual worry or dread of disaster that comes from climate change, and we're kind of always waiting for the next one. And that's a really scary and uncertain thing. I wish Jordan and Amy were here to speak more about that, because they were they were really affected by the disasters.
I'm trying to find something.
I'm like trying to keep thought. So if I'm just like stare off, I'm like trying to hyper focus on the corner of the carpet. So we're kind of addressing this dread. We all kind of talked about this this worry of this ramping up of weather, extreme weather, and this uncertainty with it. And this is kind of my own thing, but I was reflecting a bit on this project, and just thinking of uncertainty and the kind of lack of control that we're kind of at the mercy of this extreme weather. And because of that, I kind of find parallels between being a statist First Nations person where you kind of feel like it can all just end at any moment, where it can just be taken away from you, where you really don't have a ton of control because it's all falling under the crown. And I think that's a shared experience anyone across this country could feel. And yeah, it's just an interesting observation or thought I had when editing the video. But Do you have any other thoughts of extreme weather?
I'd be like so honest and tell you I only heard the last part of that.
What'd you think?
Really holding us up as a team. Couldn't have done it without you. But I mean that sincerely. We actually couldn't have. Jordan really, yeah, we've had some hiccups, and Jordan's been really great. So great to work with. I don't have anything to add, but. Do you have anything you want to talk about with your project?
So for Nocturne, which I'm really excited to be a part of, because in 2018, my friends and I came up, and I was like, come on, we're going to Halifax for an art show. And my friend wore high heels, because she thought art show was code for like going out dancing. So, and I was dressed like this, like, wearing sneakers, and so it's so funny when I talked to her last week about what I was going up for. She's like, "What's Nocturne?" I was like, "Well, remember the art show?" So that was like my first memory of Nocturne in 2018. So I'm super honored to be here and getting to be a part of it, because like it's still hard for me to see myself in these spaces, right? But I deserve to be here, and I have to keep reminding myself that. And although I won't be using my traditional materials, I will be exploring, you know, Mi'kmaq quill work designs with chalk art and some glow-in-the-dark tempera, I think it's called tempera paint, yeah. So I haven't used that kind of paint yet. I'm not a painter, but I like to doodle, and I like to work with the chalk, and I've done a few chalk designs so far, like in my city, and even just in my community at the end of my driveway. And all the kids kind of come around and they're like, "Hey, auntie, I want some chalk too." So, and they're creating these masterpieces right beside mine, and they're just like, "I'm an artist now, hey, auntie?" And that's what I love. One of the times I did chalk art in the city of Charlottetown, there was a little girl in the house nearby that was watching me the whole time. And months later, her mother approached me, and she's like, "I know you don't know me." She's like, "But I just want to say thank you for inspiring my child to get into the arts." And they were so excited seeing you do chalk art out there in, you know, in the, wherever it was. But that's what I really love, you know, that children, the kids, elders, everybody is involved in my practice. And everywhere as I go, I make sure I bring someone with me. There's youth coming with me to workshops, and there's youth helping me do my chalk art designs too, because I don't know, like, kneeling on the pavement is really hard. So I'm like, "Hey, Quiz, you want to come down with auntie?" And they're like, "What do we have to do?" So just keeping them involved, but also exploring that maybe we're not always going to be having birch bark, right? What happens if there's no more birch bark left? Or what happens if there's no more porcupines left? You know, I still want to be able to make these designs and feel connected to my work. And it's like, do I still feel connected even though I'm not using these traditional materials? And the answer is yes. So I'm really happy about that. And recently I did art in the open, and I made a big Mi'kmaq quill work piece out of paper straws. And it was really difficult because, like, I work faster with quills. So like measuring and cutting and gluing paper straws was like quite the challenge. But also when I first started doing quill work, it was really challenging too. So So I will be doing a chalk art piece outside of the Art Gallery of Nova Scotia. I'm gonna have some good music. So if you guys want to come and do the work for me, no. I'll put you to work, I'll feed you, no. But really though, you could put some chalk down too if you want. Just get right in the zone with me, call me auntie, you know. But yeah, I'm excited to see the glow-in-the-dark paint. That's gonna be something new for me, so. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do for Nocturne.
I didn't know it was gonna glow in the dark. That's awesome. What time are you gonna be there tomorrow?
I'm gonna be there probably 5, and I'm gonna start a little bit before 6. Yeah, just so I have like some daylight to get working on it. So, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Saturday. Today is not Friday.
I guess I won't be there tomorrow.
Nope. 5 o'clock Saturday. Don't listen to me. You're not here to listen to me.
Before you move on, real quick, Melissa
Sure.
reminded me that I only spoke of dread and suffering, and that's about half the work. Yeah, you were so cheery, and I was like, oh yeah, there's actually like joy in art. So sorry to cut you off. But also, on the other side of that, there's regrowth and thanks. Yeah, there's now I got mighty machines here, and no, there's regrowth, and you reminded me of talking about berries. Earlier, there's Amy did some tufting work of like a little blueberry growing, which is really cool. But yeah, I think acknowledging that we do come back from these disasters, and there is quick growth, and it is beautiful. And if there's something I could say that Indigenous people are really good at doing, it's healing, and it's really cool to acknowledge that when we're kind of filled with so much dread and disaster. Hey. But yeah, I just wanted to say that before I just prepared you all to see like suffering and screaming and fires, and then
Yeah,
like,
it's really not that. It's not all that. It was inspired a little bit by that. Yeah. But there's lots of beauty in it, and
Yep.
yeah.
Okay, sorry, that was my little aside.
Hey, no apologies here, man. That's awesome. Thank you. Another direction in our questions is what do you want galleries and museums to consider when working with Indigenous artists on curatorial and programming initiatives from your own perspectives?
I just spoke a bunch, so.
I'm gonna go.
You're brave.
I'm gonna take this moment of whatever this is. When I read this question earlier when you sent it to me, I was thinking about, my brain. Wanda Nanabush and what she said during one of her talks. I can't remember. It was at the Dalhousie Gallery, and I can't remember the exhibition. It was all Indigenous women. Anyways, she said that like galleries and museums, their job when they're working with Indigenous people and the Indigenous community is really to say yes, and then to just figure it out. Because Indigenous artists, they ask for what they need, they ask for what their community needs, and if you don't understand it right away, through the process, you most likely will understand it. And I think about that a lot when I'm working with people that maybe I don't know or don't have like a great relationship with is that I give them the opportunity to say yes. And that's one thing that I thought of earlier, so.
Yeah, okay. I'd say, thinking about this question, I was drawn to, because I don't make traditional art, I still make Indigenous art. And so I think it's important that Indigenous art is acknowledged beyond this weird space where they separate it in another room, which is good. We like that. But having it also in the conversation of contemporary canon, or like alongside other contemporary artists that aren't Indigenous, because it's just as important and part of the conversation as anything else. So kind of not just giving it its own space, but letting it kind of take up the other space as well and be part of a greater conversation, or acknowledging that just because it's not traditional, it can still be Indigenous, and it can still offer a lot of value. And so that's just from my experience and my perspective as somebody who makes art, that if you were to look at it, it might not really appear so, unless you like read a write-up or something and realize I'm Coast Salish. But yeah, that's it. That's mine.
I'm not even sure how to answer that, but I'm thinking just to be mindful that Indigenous artists, I guess, still have a hard time seeing themselves in these spaces. You know, helping them with those barriers to get there, and finding resources for them to get there. And maybe the artist doesn't know the whole process of how even to get into, you know, these galleries or these shows, or there may be a whole bunch of other things happening in their lives. Be patient, be understanding, maybe come over and have some tea at their kitchen table. A lot of my teachings and conversations happen at my kitchen table, and I work from home, and I have a lot of people, if they want to come and talk, I'm just like, yep, come on over. I'll put the tea on. So, because like through those big booklets and contracts, and it's quite intimidating, and a lot of the emails and stuff you got to do. So I'm so grateful that through my practice, I've run into so many understanding people in those positions that have guided me along, and I am able to offer some of that knowledge to, you know, artists coming up, and that it's not too intimidating, not too scary. Like, we can do it, and yeah, that's my.
Now, you say you didn't know how to answer that question, but I think that, you know, what you said, like, a lot of us would be able to relate to that. So thank you very much for always just speaking from your heart, Melissa, for real. Another question that I think is a pretty good one to think about is, like, you know, what do you want to say to young Indigenous creatives who are considering a path in the arts?
Go. I work a lot with the youth, so I'm always encouraging them, you know, to try something new, to try this art, to try something, right? You're not always going to be great at it. You might fail, but keep trying. And I I have so many youth come to my house and they just want to do quill work. They had a bad day, they show up, Auntie, hey, can I work on my piece? I'm like, yeah, it's in the office. I'm like, what do you need? And they're like, I'm hungry. So I feed them. And they do art. And they know that they can come up to Auntie's house and do art and be creative. And they also know they can come up and make some money and they could sell their art. I'll help them do that too. But, you know, I'm always gonna cheer them on. And because when I was little, I never thought like I would be sitting here, right? I had so many traumas, so many challenges in my life, and to be sitting here as an artist, that's a great feeling, you know, getting to make something with my hands and being able to take care of my family and just to be me, right? This is it. This is Auntie. And the kids, you know, they're exploring more, and artists, yeah, I don't even know what else to say. But to just to dream big. And if you got nobody to cheer you on, I'll cheer you on. I'll go to everything. I'll be in the audience. I'll be the loudest one there cheering, and yeah.
Nice. I like that. That's warm. Yeah. It's like that question. What would you say to yourself 10 years or 20 years ago? Where'd this one come from? Already has one in his mouth.
It's a system.
Yeah. I think for this question, it kind of hits me personally, just in a confidence way, where just knowing that you or they, that the youth, wherever they are, they're enough, and their experiences are enough. And some artists, such as myself, might have struggled with identity and where they belong within their community or outside their community, and that's really hard to go through, because you want to speak on your experiences, or maybe you don't make traditional work, but you feel like you have something to say, but you're afraid of stepping out of line or breaking a rule, or thinking that you need to make something that's overtly traditionally indigenous, whereas I don't know if anyone knows Carrie Newman, but he had sat me down one day and he just kind of broke it to me, because I think I was having a breakdown, and he told me, and he had told me that it's just like, stop trying to shoehorn whatever it is you're trying to shoehorn into your work, and just make something, and just understand that it doesn't matter what it is you make, it is indigenous, and trust your intuition, because it comes from somewhere. It comes from your community, it comes from your lived experience, and it will show through, whether you want it to or not. It's not really your choice. So I'll leave it there.
Yeah, we're going to watch first. I was thinking, I mean, both of your answers are amazing and really good. I was listening because he was occupied. And I guess the only thing I would really add is that, here, his card. There you go. Jordan, stop watching. is that right now, I think it's important to remember that like majority of institutions are not made for you. So if you don't feel comfortable, it's because they're not made for you in particular. I think that's really important to know because when I was growing up, I didn't know that, and it was really hard to get through school and to just feel comfortable in those settings because looking back, yeah, they weren't for me. And so that's something that I often tell myself when I do feel alienated or uncomfortable. And so I think that that's a really good thing to kind of hold. Yeah.
Totally. I'm going to break the rules a little bit because I also have something I want to say about that too. In my position at the Art Gallery Nova Scotia, every now and then I get the blessing to have, like a group of kids that come from, say, Tsleil-Waututh First Nation, one of the closest reserves here to Halifax, about a 45-minute drive or so. And so I had the privilege of, leaving that group of youth, for example, through Jordan Bennett's exhibition, ílwətaʔ, when that was here. Means that they want to come home, that show. And so what I told them too, because they were in high school, and there was quite a few of them that were interested in art, and what I told them is, in a lot of institutions, they're going to look at things like, oh, what university you went to, oh, what's your education? But what I told them is what you learn from your elders is just as important, even more so than what you're going to learn at one of those institutions. So you cite them on your essays, that's our education. It's valid education, Oh man, getting passionate here. Speaking of passion, joy. How do you find joy in the process and in your work?
Thanks, Jordan. Yeah. Okay. I find joy in like monotonous, repetitive things. If you've ever seen my work, it is very slow and repetitive and kind of painful in certain ways. And that brings me an immense amount of joy. Organization brings me immense amount of joy. And so my projects are usually very organized and strategized. I get a lot of joy from visiting family and spending time with this guy. And I started making some work recently that kind of thinks about being a parent and what that's like in a gallery setting and making work in response to that and trying to be more welcoming towards parents. And that brings me a lot of joy.
Me? Okay. Here, hold cars. It's cars now. So, joy, you said? Okay, sure. I find joy sometimes. It's usually thinking. I think a lot. I think more than I do, and that's a problem because it doesn't pay the bills. But I really enjoy just ruminating and stewing on ideas that last a year, and then I finally decide to do something about it. But I really enjoy that process, albeit frustrating at times. And I don't enjoy bashing my head against a keyboard until something happens. But after that, when these kind of thoughts show results and people actually get to be inside a work of mine, in between a work of mine, and get to actually experience this kind of weird, crazy intuition that I didn't check in with anyone about. And it just proves to be true. It's just very satisfying, and when people connect with it, and those moments where someone is just like, you know, I never thought about it that way, or I'm going to walk out of this space looking at this thing you've made fun of or pointed out, and really give it a critical eye next time I'm through it or past it. So yeah, just ego mostly.
Oh, yes?
Joy. When I first think of that word, I think of me sitting in the marsh where all the sweetgrass is. And it's like a beautiful day, it's sunny, a little bit cloudy, it's not too hot. And you can just hear the sweetgrass blowing in the wind. And I'm harvesting, and I'm thinking, like, my grandmother's harvested here. You know, I'm picking this medicine here. I'm gonna use this medicine. And also this medicine is like healing me. So I think like my grandmothers are here, and they're helping me through anything that I go through. And when I'm doing my art, that's what I'm always feeling. I feel that presence. And I have joy. Like, I absolutely love what I do, and that connection to my ancestors and with my family, and like being in the woods and harvesting and laughing with my cousin and falling through the woods. 2 years ago, we were out harvesting in PEI, and I was like, yeah, this is a good spot. Let's go, let's go. So I jump out of the truck, and my nephew's like, he's watching out for me, and my cousin is like, she sees me walking, and all of a sudden it's, whoop. And I'm in this like little, like this big hole, and I'm just laying there, and I'm like, I'm good. But those moments there, we must have laughed for like a good 5 minutes, and they kept like replaying it, like, oh, fucking Mel just fallen in this hole, like, and they still bring it up and tease me, like, I'm known for falling down a lot, but you know what? I always get back up. And I will be out in the woods until I can't get back up. But I think that's the joy, really connecting with those materials and the family, and like brings a lot of laughter. Like, we're always laughing. Me and Cheryl always laughing. But yeah, that's my joy. And also, like, sometimes I take breaks from quill work. And if there's a lot going on, it's really hard to like get back into it. But then like I'll get these little like messages or signs or something like that. And then I pick up the piece, and I allow myself 10 minutes to quill. And if I can't get out of that funk, I put it away. But for 9 years, I've never put it away after 10 minutes. I've always gotten out of that funk. And that's my joy, doing the quill work and having a supportive quill team around me. And yeah, everyone needs a good team, good support around you. So
That's also wholesome. I love it. Yeah, so speaking of wholesome joy, excitement, what are some things that are coming up on the horizon for all of you that you're excited about?
Is it Saturday? I honestly thought it was Friday, so I was like planning for tomorrow. I'm really happy I can go to bed at like 7 o'clock and then save my energy for Saturday. So I'm excited for Saturday. Don't you want that? You want to get it? Maybe you'll get it in a sec. I'm really excited about a solo show that my friend and I are working on. Fran, she's sitting there. We're working on a show. Can you get it later? Okay, put it here. And it is the first solo show that my family will be able to see because it'll be in Grand Prairie. So I'm really excited about that. I'm also pregnant again, so I'll have another little rowdy one. So yeah, those are things that I'm really excited about.
Yes, Saturday should be fun. Actually get to see what it looks like off a screen and on more screens. I've just started this week a residency in Strutt's Gallery in beautiful Sackville, New Brunswick. And that's exciting. It's been a while since I've had some time and space to think and make and be, like, live where my art is being made, which is something artists don't often get afforded. And then, Christmas is coming up, eh? And then I've also, I think, my first solo show in the Alternator in Kelowna a year from now. I'm kind of really excited about to actually get to have everything of mine in a space. So, yeah. Thanks. That's it. I think I'm just leave it there.
I have a show coming up next year in PEI, but my cousin and I were checking out all these proposal deadlines for like shows, and that's excited. Getting to get back out there and work on some new pieces, and hopefully have another exhibit with my quill sisters or with whoever. But I have a trip coming up to like Washington, D.C., and I'm super excited about that. Going on like a mission trip with Craft Alliance and Maui Art. So I'm getting to check out the native art market, I think, in the end of November, early December. So I'm super excited about that because we get to go to the Smithsonian, and I was just saying a few months ago, like, I'm gonna go there, I'm going. So we're gonna go do a little tour, and I'm excited about that. I'm just counting the days. But we also have Indigenous Artisan Market coming up in end of November as well. So I've been busy prepping for that. And I really wanted to set up and vend here, but I was like, oh my God, like, what if I, like, I mean, it's a good thing if I sell all my product, but I really want to be able to have my product for this artisan market. And what else? Designing for Manitoba Muckaluk. So that's a project I'm working on right now, and once I get more details, it'll be released. So, and yeah, I think that's everything that I'm up to.
Oh man, I know I'm gonna have to buy Manitoba muklux. Those are gonna be awesome. Cool. So here we are. I'm just gonna do a little time check. So we are at 7:14. So we have till what time? 8 o'clock? 8 o'clock. All right. Well, I have another question, and then perhaps we could open the floor to some audience questions. But a question that I have is it's pretty broad. It's is there anything that you didn't get around to sharing today with these questions that you'd like the audience to take away? And also, how can they keep up with your work from here after this?
I said the Christmas thing, right?
I love your humor. Oh my God.
I don't think I have anything else to say, but you can follow me on Instagram. I have a website, The Jordan Hill, because the other Jordan Hill was taken. So I'm thejordanhill.com, or on Instagram, where I post once a year. You can catch me there at jhill.93. But yeah, other than that, I'm around town. You'll see my name, I'm sure.
We're in the process of applying for exhibits. So if you know of any deadlines coming up, come see Auntie, because I will apply. And you can follow me on social media, Peter Paul on Instagram. I have business cards, so if you need them, I got them. I got you. Yeah, I don't know what else.
I'm on Instagram. Sometimes, yeah. And I have a website. And yeah, those are the best ways, mainly.
What's your Instagram and website?
You hitting me hard with the good questions. My Instagram, I believe, is called Carrie Allison Art, and I think it's all one. And then my website is, I think it's carrie-allison.com.
But if they Google your name, they're sure to find it.
It's there. I'm sure of it. I'm sure it's there. I renew it. I pay for it every year. They make you, so it's up to date. I'm also with iota, who I just made eye contact with. So also them, they are great. And Norberg Gallery in Calgary. So they are good to reach out to if I'm hermiting, which I plan to do in the winter. So.
Cool beans. Sounds good to me. Awesome. So maybe we're at the time where we can have more of a conversation with all you folks who join us tonight.
Thanks, y'all. Hello, Sgsmåkal. Mera naam Takdir Kaur Pandal hai. Thanks so much for your kind words and inspiration. My question is around spirituality. I think each of you at some point mentioned intuitive hits and maybe didn't use the language of the universe, so I'm just projecting my own, wondering if and how spirituality in its many forms, through many knowledges, kind of inspires your work. Yeah.
I can answer. Okay. Unless you're ready to go?
No?
Okay. Are you sure you got this?
No, I love to hear you talk.
Okay. So I've been quilling for 9 years now, and I've been sober for about eight years now. And because of quill work, that connection to my ancestors and that spirituality was getting so strong that I I didn't need to have a drink. And that grew stronger. And that's a really important piece in my art where, you know, I'm earning that from my ancestors. And they're gifting me some designs. They're gifting me this knowledge and how to make a quill box and how to construct it. And, but yeah, so that's how connected I feel with my art now. And it's so much stronger. And I have to accept those gifts and acknowledge them, but also pass those on too, so.
I can't top that. Say ditto. Me too.
Yeah, I don't really call it spirituality necessarily, but like connection or yeah, and I think that like my practice is really important to building that connection, as well as going home is really important to me, and fortunately, like I get to at least once a year, unless we have a pandemic, then you can't. And so that to me, that relationship with the land and with my family is really important to me and my work. And that's where kind of like my belief systems exist or live or are held.
Hi.
Ditto.
My name is Roy. I found out 3 years ago I was Indigenous in group panel, and I have to say, my question is for Auntie, is what made you to get off of alcohol and get away from her addiction?
Nothing good ever happened when I was drinking. So it took a long time to realize that. But the stronger the connection to my culture, to the art, and all of that, it got easier. You know, when you have a bad day, and what I've grown up to see, oh, get mad, go have a drink, right? So now it's like sitting with those feelings and dealing with those emotions and stuff like that, but also holding on to those glimmers and what makes you happy, and thinking about all of the positive things that are happening in your life, but also visualizing everything that can happen. So that's what got me through. And knowing that I don't want to put my children through this, and breaking that cycle is what I did, and what I'm gonna keep doing every day.
Thank you, Auntie. So one day at a time.
Hi. So within all of your conversations, you talked a little bit about how you hold space for yourselves, how you hold space for like the youth in your community, and I was just wondering whether or not like that's informed like through your family, like through your experiences. Like I'm biased and doing research on guest host protocols within visual culture, and we all kind of bring our own families, and I was wondering whether or not you had stories that you were willing to share about finding those resonances between, you know, holding art for a public that might not be ready to engage with us, or holding art for other people like us, you know? I'm in Anishinaabe, by the way.
I won't say that, I can't say that space for Indigenous youth specifically, but having taught a couple semesters at NASCAD, I'd say it's incredibly important, and I didn't realize how important until I was in it. Just holding space and creating space for smaller communities in general, whether that be Indigenous, BIPOC, LGBTQ+, and I think it's oddly intuitive, and I was really concerned about it going into NSCAD, and then I realized that it's just kind of who we are. I'm hoping we, who we are kind of opens that space up, and I think it's important to not do that just for Indigenous people, but those who feel like they don't have those spaces, to kind of welcome them into your space, because anywhere we're kind of going, I hope personally that if I'm in a room, that is a safe space for those who need it. And I think that just comes from growing up in my community, and understanding and watching my elders do the same, and so I just kind of want to be like a walking pylon of safety. And that's open for all communities, not just Indigenous.
Okay. All right. Question for Jordan. No, I'm just kidding. I think for me, relationships is really what and how I hold space. Building relationships and maintaining them and doing it in the best way that I can is really the way that I try to connect in the best way that I can connect. Just putting the work into those relationships. So whether it's my mom or my friendships or my son, I think those are important to me, but also I think important to them. No, you can't have it. I'm sorry, honey. Yeah, I think that's good.
I grew up that way, but also when I was 16, I was left on my own, right? So now I think I want to offer what maybe I didn't have to, right? I want to make sure that there's space for everybody at my table, and whoever needs me, I'm going to be there. Like, so it's funny because my Uncle Fran in my community, everybody calls him Uncle Fran. Like, even if it's not their uncle, they know. And when I was a little girl and it would be like the sun would be going down, I'd be too scared to walk home, he would always drive me home. And I'll always remember that. And I'll always take care of Uncle Fran now. Like, but also just, I guess, just holding space and taking time and being someone who I needed when I was younger.
Hello. That's such a lovely answer. My original question is very similar to that, but I do have another one. First of all, thank you all for sharing so much. I think these conversations are so nice to be a part of and to bring you all together. I'm such a fan of all of your work. And I guess I wonder, I find myself now in a position where I fund a lot of work, but I would love to know what you feel Mi'kma'ki needs more of. Carrie, you mentioned that we need more yes. We need more yes in our spaces, and more joy, more family. As a funder, I would love to know, the obvious, more money, but what do you feel we need more of here, and how can those of us here in the audience that have some level of decision-making power make that happen for you?
Public art. I think I would just love to see less statues. That would be really great. And more like Mi'kmaq art, and just more public art, but specifically I think like Mi'kmaq art, I think would be great to hold the city, because it's where we are. So.
Oh, I don't even know how. Well, think of in your funding when you're getting an artist to go somewhere that their auntie might want to come to. Because all of these opportunities I have, I make sure somebody's always with me, so they can see, life outside the res, right? But also for safety too. I always make sure I always have somebody with me. So if you can think of funding, think of that.
I don't think I'm qualified to answer this question, to be honest. So I won't. No, Carrie kind of covered it. Less statues, more money. You said that one though. I don't know. I think I can only just speak of my experience here, which has been quite brief. It's been 2 and a bit years, but it's actually been a really welcoming place. I've been given tons of opportunities, whether just be for being an artist or being Indigenous, or being both. I don't know, I think, I got no answer. I feel like I've yet to scratch the, oh, hello. The surface of the iceberg in terms of what this community needs. And I feel like from someone kind of coming from the outside, I don't think I'm qualified to kind of make those comments, so I'll leave it there.
Oh, hi. Thank you so much for your openness and the generosity of tonight's panel. Yeah, I'm here. Hi. So the question would end up pretty similar, but I know our panelists all have spending quite some time here on this land, and also have some intimate relationship with Nocturne. So my question would be, just let it dream. If there's a perfect piece for Nocturne or as a public art for this land, what would it be? If you were about to create one, or just anyone, just to have some art here.
If we were to make something, or if we were to bring someone else's thing? Both?
Either one.
Question mark?
Yeah, both. Sorry.
Oh gosh, I regret talking for clarification, because now I feel like I have to answer. That's the question, if you had all the money in the world, what would you make? Oh gosh, I think for me personally, selfishly, money. No, having all that money, I don't know, that's a hard question. I think for me, I'm really about creating immersive environments you can walk into or interact with. I think if I were to see something at Nocturne, whether it be me or someone else, it would be something in which the audience intervention is needed or you happen upon. I find we grow stronger connections with work we see when we feel we have agency within them, and we actually can, because instead of observing experiences, we get to have them, and those experiences come with us. So work in which people feel like they're involved instead of walking by kind of as a passive experience. So more active experiences. There was this work where you like hop in a booth and dance and you'd like show up on a wall. I think it was last year. That was sweet, and like people are going to remember that. But things like that to me are really important. It's a big staple in my work, and it's kind of if we're talking big budget, it's something I'd love to see more of. Oh, we're good. Yeah, all right, there's my answer.
Deonde, I'm curious about like the role of representation in your work. So I live in Oklahoma, and sometimes there's like this burden that gets put on Indigenous art and artists to be representative and really sort of, you know, put into positions where there might be tokenism, or there's like this pressure to teach people like in Native 101 in some ways. And I think that comes from like external, obviously, sources, like more settler colonial lenses, but I'm curious if that enters into your work or the discourse around your art practice.
Thanks, buddy. Yeah, kind of that kind of loops a bit back to an earlier question. I don't remember which one, but talking about, oh, now I've just lost it all. Thinking about making art personally for me, and trusting that the experience itself is kind of beyond just look at what this Indigenous guy thinks. It's kind of to tie it back to the previous question, actually, is you don't need to hand someone a pamphlet and say, this is how Indigenous people feel when they walk through whatever. It's just like, let them feel it, or, oh, now I remember what I was going to go to. Thanks, Shai. Including art, whether it be traditionally influenced or whether it just be through just an Indigenous artist making, having that next to other work that might not be Indigenous. So as to feel less intimidating, I find going to galleries with non-Indigenous people, there'll be like a room and it's a bunch of Indigenous art, and they're just kind of so scared to ask questions or engage with it because they're so afraid of doing the wrong thing, or saying the wrong thing or thinking the wrong thing. And in a weird way, it kind of puts like a bigger wedge between them and Indigenous culture. So finding ways in which we can mix it in a greater conversation rather than just kind of, as you were saying, like tokenizing it and being, and just kind of existing in its own room. It's nice to have that space, but we're part of this world too, so we should be part of every conversation, really. So, yeah.
Representation, tokenism.
Tokenism, riff.
Riff.
We should riff.
Oh.
Like in galleries, like how do we deal with that? Like how do you personally handle that kind of?
Thank you. Thank you, my friend. I'm gonna blame that on mom brain. Like I have just like pregnancy brain and cannot remember anything. I think that I say no to people that I don't know and don't have like a relationship with, because or I pass it off to someone else to work with them through, like, or work with them on behalf of me. So protecting myself is important to me. I don't want to have conversations that I don't think I should have. And I am privileged enough to be in that position right now. I have Iota who manages a lot of my work. And so if I don't feel comfortable, if I say yes to a project and then I start to feel uncomfortable, I pass it off to someone else. That's not something that everyone has, and I recognize that. And saying no is a privilege, but it is something that I do to try and keep myself to myself and keep my energy. I think working and having and building projects with people that you feel safe with, that have been with you, that you have a good relationship with, is something that I'm starting to do more and more of, is just create projects together, and create opportunities together, and create and dream big together, because I think that's a way to tell stories in a meaningful way, in a held way, that that I'm so lucky that I get to do right now.
A personal question for all of you, because like we've seen you like interact with us and talk about yourself or your work. For me, it's also interesting to know you as when you were younger. So, did you ever? What future did you see for yourself as when you were growing up as children? Was that as being specifically an artist, or was it other careers you had in mind? It's like, yeah.
Oh my God, I was the weirdest child. And like the coolest kid, too. You want to drop Mommy hand? Okay. I used to like make robots out of like garbage all the time. And I would, I drew a lot too. But I didn't see myself as like an artist. I actually like, in high school, I failed art like twice. But like they wanted something very specific, which apparently I wasn't willing to do. But no, I didn't see myself as an art, I think, or like an artist, or as an art either. I think I had very boring dreams, like things that like other kids had, like I'm gonna be a veterinarian. I think that was like something. And then, you know, you see guts and that's gross. And I was a vegetarian for like 3 years, and then I gave it up. But yeah, I think that like, I look back at myself when I was a kid, and like a lot of the things that I did as a kid are things that I do as an artist. Do you want some water? And yeah, but that's what came to mind when you were, I just really wanted to tell people that I used to make robots. And they were always called Little Jim. Always.
All right, I'll go. Never an artist, that's for sure. I grew up as an incredibly stubborn child. But stubborn in a way because I was incredibly particular about things for no reason at all. And I think that still exists to this day. But I didn't really grow up in a family from an art world. The only art I grew up seeing was carving and painting and illustrations, Coast Salish style. And those forms kind of had always stuck with me, and just the things that carried through from that were just interpretations of space and negative space, and as I grew up, I was a big nerd, and I was always on a computer, and I found myself on the internet a lot, and I started learning software, and then I was making things, and then I realized I went to university in my undergrad, and it took me about 2 years to realize what art actually was, what like making means, and what it means to actually create, and how to actually have agency and a voice in what I was making. But yeah, growing up, a total world that didn't exist to me until I kind of accidentally stumbled into it, and it just happened.
Ooh, that's a hard one to answer, but I am going to be brutally honest. And as a kid, I didn't really like dare to dream, and I didn't even think I would be here that long, right? And being in a lot of unsafe environments and stuff like that, you just don't think, what are you going to be when you grow up? I said this yesterday in my talk, when you don't even know what you're going to have for supper tonight, if we're going to have any food, right? So I'm still here, yay me, yay Mel. But it was very much survival as a little girl. So now when all the kids want to make art, I'm like, hell yeah, let's make art. Like, let's make art. So I hope I answered that question.
I would like to thank the audience for all the incredible questions tonight. I'd like to thank Aiden for incredible moderation and posing some really fabulous questions. And I would especially like to thank the panelists today, Melissa, Jordan, and Carrie, for sharing so much about the practices and about yourselves. And I'm really looking forward to seeing the work that you're presenting this weekend on Saturday. Thank you so much. Thanks, everyone.